Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, 2020 Vision, Accurately Report, Plan, and Forecast, featuring our guests, Stephanie McNally and Jerry Scara with Work, Joseph Dink with Active Cyber, and Caleb Hand with OneSource Virtual. My name is Annette, and I will be your event host. Before I turn things for today's discussion, I'll go over some basic event information with you. Phone lines have been muted. As an added precaution, if you can go ahead your end as well, that will make sure that everyone can hear the conversation today. Event with some time for questions and answers. As you think of those, please send them over to me via the host feature via chat. To open chat, if it's not already, you're going to hover over the bottom part of your WebEx screen and click on that blue conversation bubble icon. That'll open up the chat feature and you can send your questions over to me. I will read them and our panelists will respond. And then of course, if ends or we are unable to get to your question, there are a couple of ways you can reach out in addition to the email noted here, marketing@onesourcevirtual.com. We will share this information at the end of our Q&A session. And finally, and will be posted online within 48 hours. We will also send an email to all participants, so you will have that link. To access the recording, please go to virtual.com/company/events. Without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to our moderator, Jeff Miller, Director of Communications.
Hello, friends, and thank you for setting aside time right now in a critical time, a unique time in all of your businesses to dial into this webinar. I think this is going to be important information for you to absorb right now, perhaps with a little bit of jealousy with those who have maybe already implemented financial planning and that they're maybe a little bit ahead of the curve right now with some things that are going on in our world, but also perhaps with some anticipation that you can one day reach that place yourself. So we have a great lineup today. We're going to be hearing from both OneSource Virtual and Workday. We have a couple of Workday folks in the house. We have some robust demos to share with you today. So really excited about today's webinar. Also, we're going to be recording this, as Brooke said. So if those of you who have friends or others that you'd like to dial in and listen to this, be sure to send the link to them when we send it to you in a couple of days. It'll be live in about 48 hours. I know everybody's got a lot of competing priorities right now, priorities that they didn't anticipate even a couple of weeks ago. But I also know that there is an ongoing appetite for community. There's also an ongoing appetite for thinking through the future of business. And that's really why we wanted to go ahead and proceed with this live webinar. And then, of course, have that available recording for you later on. So here's a bit of an agenda. We're going to go a full 45 minutes before we break for Q&A. We have a number of people who are going to be presenting today from a number of different locations. We usually have about 4 different zip codes involved with our webinars, and I think today we have about 6 zip codes involved because of the nature of where we are today with our global situation. First of all, I'm going to allow some of the presenters to introduce themselves to kick us off, and then you're going to hear from OneSource Virtual ourselves, one of our key professional services experts. It's going to tell you just a little bit about OSV and our range of services. Jerry is going to jump in from Workday and talk about planning for a changing world. And he's got some great experience and some really rich information to frame the demos that will come next. We're going to have a few different demos, again, very robust and I think informative for you. So I know you'll want to stay tuned for those. And then Jerry's going to come back with a bit of a roadmap from Workday's perspective before we get to a Q&A. So let me introduce, I'm going to do this sort of in 2 parts. If you'll think of this webinar in 2 parts, I'm going to introduce 2 of our presenters now, and then we'll break in a little bit, and I'll introduce the second 2 who are going to be really driving our demos. So first we have Caleb and Jerry who are really leading off our webinar before we turn to the demos. So I'm going to first invite Caleb. Caleb from OneSource Virtual, you've unmuted, I see. That's awesome. Caleb, tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll invite Jerry to introduce himself as well.
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. So hi, everybody. My name is Caleb Hand. I am based in Dallas, Texas, currently working from the home office, as many of you are. Outside of work, I have 2 dogs who, since I've been at home, probably would like me to leave the house and get back to the office soon. I try and live an active lifestyle by running outdoors. Haven't been able to do much of that, unfortunately. I'm also addicted to Barry's Boot Camp, which again is indoors. So I'm currently on lockdown and doing as many home workouts as I can in my living room. It's like flashback to the 90s with Jane Fonda, but I'm doing the best we can. On the professional side, I've been working with finance and accounting software for over 13 years. The last 7 years have been focused on Workday Financials, both as a customer at one point and then most recently as a consultant. In my current role at OSV, I'm responsible for all of our Workday Financials and our planning deployments.
Awesome, Caleb. And I know Caleb has a relatively minor role in today's webinar, but we certainly wanted to introduce him to those of you who are dialed in today. I think he's an important person for you to get to know. Jerry, I see you're unmuted as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jerry.
Sure, Jeff, thanks. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Again, Jerry Scara. So I manage a team of planning and analytics specialists at Workday. I've been with Workday for a little over 9 years in a variety of roles covering our finance, planning, and analytics products. I live in Denver, Colorado, with my wife of 19 years, my 17-year-old son and 15-year-old daughter. When I'm not subjected to a shelter-in-place order, which went into effect last night in Denver, my family and I enjoy all the outdoor activities that Colorado has to offer, you know, snowboarding, skiing, mountain biking, and hiking. And I'm hoping that someday here in the very near future, I'll be able to do that again. Thanks, Jeff.
Absolutely. Well, both of you are outdoorsmen, and we're grateful that you're being with us today and grateful that you're taking measures to stay safe, as hopefully all of those dialed in are doing so. So Caleb, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Caleb, tell us a little bit about OSV, the range of services, and PS in particular.
Sure thing. So OneSource, you know, we are solely focused on the Workday application. So our services are comprehensive, flexible, and scalable, you know, fostering agility in our partnership together with both Workday and our customers. The only partner, you know, you'll ever need for Workday. All of the Workday lifecycle from pre-deployment to post-go live. So I wanted to just spend a little bit of time talking about the OSV services and our various business lines. So our deployment is where I live. And focus, you know, solely on our deployment across all of the Workday applications. This does include Workday Financials and Adaptive Insights. Additionally, as part of our deployment practice, we also work with customers in the transformation activities that they may be going through, both on the finance and accounting side. Our BPaaS, Business Process as a Service, this is our service line which is focused on payroll, HR, benefits, workforce, and financial outsourcing services, which does include our treasury management and AP automation offerings. And then last but not least, AMS, which is our application management services. So this is focused on supporting our customers who are already live in production and on their journey. So, you know, really focus on road mapping and making sure they're getting the best out of their investment from Workday. So now I'd like to spend a little more time speaking about our deployment practice and specifically around financial planning and adaptive. So we have worked with we have worked with many customers on over 600 deployments and have been a Workday partner since 2008. I have a team of nearly 400 Workday certified consultants. An additional point that's important, we also run the full suite of Workday products at OSV, including Workday Financials and Adaptive Insights for planning. So we deploy Workday, we're focused on Workday, and we also use it to run our business as well. Many of our customers are already live on Workday Financials and realizing the benefit of Power of One. We also have customers who have not yet deployed Workday Financials. The natural extension to continue to leverage the Workday platform is for planning. We've seen many customers deploy Adaptive for financial planning prior to deploying Workday Financials. When thinking about financial planning, a lot of our customers are leveraging Excel to complete planning activities. Excel is a powerful tool, but it does have its limitations. So some of the challenges we hear: who has the master? Which version are we on? How are we collaborating? Oh, great. Is this file corrupted? So these challenges are not limited to Excel. Many organizations face similar challenges by continuing to leverage their legacy applications to support their planning activities. So I do want to turn it over to Jerry to talk more about the landscape of planning and how Adaptive can help modernize your planning processes.
Awesome, Caleb, thank you. And Tariva, while you're handing the ball over to Jerry, he's going to drive some great information for us again to frame up the demos that are coming. Caleb mentioned that OSV serves what I like to call only Workday and all of Workday. It's that full scope of Workday, which I really appreciate about OSV. He also mentioned our treasury function. I don't know if many of you know this, but we move over 100 billion with a B $100 billion in treasury every year. We serve a little over 1% of the entire United States workforce when it comes to payroll. So very, very much important matters during a day that's in the middle of a changing world. Now, Jerry, I see the title here is Planning for a Changing World. I think you chose that title before we really had an idea of just how much the world would be changing in the meantime. So Jerry, talk to us about financial planning. Thanks,
Jeff. Yeah, and this couldn't be a more timely message. So again, I'll go ahead and jump into it. Safe harbor statement for everybody that's watching this presentation. I am going to be talking about some roadmap items at the end of this presentation. So we are going to include some forward-looking statements and discussing some future functionality. And again, these roadmap and plan features are subject to change. It's important that you make your purchase decision with Adaptive or any of our products based on what's currently available. Everything what we'll be demonstrating today is generally available in the product today. So to think fast and move first, companies must embrace a planning process that allows organizations to make better decisions and quickly act on those decisions. And with everything going on right now in the world, that couldn't be more accurate. But in many companies today, decision-making is stalled by what we call static planning. And this image may be a good representation of your organization today, and that there are many departments doing planning in silos using spreadsheets, databases, and point solutions. And so, you know, as Caleb just alluded to, while Excel is a very powerful tool, the challenge that we see in many organizations today is this example where you've got multiple departments, many of them are running Excel, then everyone is sending their Excel spreadsheets via email to finance. And studies have shown that finance is spending upwards of 80% of their time just aggregating this information and pulling it all together, reconciling it, correcting errors before they can actually evaluate and make any recommendations to the business. So the result of this is it's very siloed, it can be limited in scope, and it's very reactionary and episodic. So what we want to talk about and show you today in this age of urgency, particularly with everything going on right now, is what we call an active planning process. And for an active planning process, what that requires is it needs to be collaborative, comprehensive, and continuous. And an active planning process enables companies to make informed decisions faster and to be a more agile business. So active planning is a process with many characteristics. It's collaborative, which means it includes participants from throughout the organization. So you want the people on the front lines that are responsible to implement the result of the plan to be involved in the planning process. If they're not, they typically don't buy into the plan. Next, it needs to be comprehensive, meaning that you're able to create a high fidelity visibility and analysis into every level of every operational function within the business. And then finally, it needs to be continuous. You need to be able to continually measure and make timely decisions and fine tune. And again, that couldn't be any more important than what organizations like yourself are dealing with today. And Workday is a great example of how we're leveraging our product today. We're actually right in the process right now of leveraging our planning tools to reforecast and run multiple scenario models around revenue and P&L, given everything that's affecting all businesses today with COVID. And so to drive an active planning solution or process, you need a solution that is easy and powerful and fast. And it needs to be all of those three. It has to be easy to use so you can get business users as well as finance as active participants in the process. And in order to do that, the system has to be easy to use. It's got to be powerful and scalable so that you can model and analyze all aspects of your business, no matter how data intensive or how complex those models are. The solution needs to be able to support that. And then last, it's got to be fast. supporting rapid modeling, scenario analysis, and decision making so that you can obviously be able to handle the types of changes that we're dealing with now. And then in a more normal world, you can stay ahead of your competitors. So when the solution is easy and powerful and fast, you can involve people closest to the business to drive those timely decisions with data-driven insights. So Adaptive Insights Business Planning Cloud is the platform that allows every functional organization within your company to plan. So while today we're talking specifically around financial planning, every part of an organization plans, including sales, marketing, operations, HR, and any other area of the business in addition to finance. So this is a planning platform for everybody in the organization. And as everyone is planning collaboratively, comprehensively, finance is uniquely situated to orchestrate the process and ultimately drive that strategic planning process that adds value back to the business. And again, as I mentioned, planning isn't just for finance. Every functional organization within your company plans. We talked about sales, marketing, operations, HR. It could be projects. It could be IT. And again, this process is ultimately orchestrated by finance. But in the end, with holistic company-wide planning, you can involve everybody that plans and get a comprehensive, interconnected model for the entire company. So the Business Planning Cloud is a platform that's designed for active planning across all the functions of your organization. We offer solutions that support all parts of the business, as I mentioned. And again, from a technology perspective, the Business Planning Cloud was built to be a cloud-based application from day one, multi-tenant, in-memory engine, so you always get the performance and scale you need in real time. So no batch processing, no calculating cubes, everything happens in real time. So modeling, reporting, analytics are all done on the platform. No separate BI or reporting application. It's all part of the platform. And then we support all data transfers between systems. And with the data integration framework that comes as part of the platform, business users, not just IT, can integrate any data source from any other system that you need. So whether you're using Workday today, but you've got other systems as part of your application landscape, CRM systems, maybe you're not yet on Workday Financials, third-party, operational systems out there, even Excel. We allow you to pull all that information in so you've got a single source of truth. And again, because we believe that everybody plans, this planning cloud is designed to be owned and maintained by business users if you choose. And while the Business Planning Cloud can support all customers, whether they're deploying the Business Planning Cloud as a standalone planning solution, which many of our customers do today, or they're leveraging other third-party, ERP systems. Many of you on the phone today are Workday HCM, but maybe you're not yet on Workday Financials. We can integrate to those as well. You can leverage all the capabilities of the Adaptive platform. And if you're a platform customer, you can gain the benefits of the power of one, combining Adaptive with the Workday platform. And with the Workday Business Platform and the power of one, it's now an integral part of Workday's vision around plan, execute, and analyze, all in a single platform. So today, we help over 4,500 customers drive success for their businesses, many times more than any other cloud planning solution. And because of that, we serve customers of all sizes across a very wide range of industries. This slide that you see is just a small sample of the key industries we serve, but we have happy customers across all industries. So from a market leadership perspective, leading industry analysts like Gartner and Forrester rank us all as leaders in their quadrants. We're also recognized by our users who have ranked us as leaders in user review sites such as G2 Crowd and TrustRadius. And now that we're part of Workday, we are ranked #1 in Fortune's Future 50 list, which ranks global companies with the best prospects for long-term growth. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Stephanie and Joseph for today's demonstration. So back to you, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. Fantastic. And while you're passing the ball over to Stephanie and Joseph, you go ahead and begin unmuting. One of the things that's interesting, I had a conversation with a joint Workday OSV customer just a couple of weeks ago during a payroll test drive, and they said when they initially were considering in like 2008, they were concerned because Workday was born in the cloud and only cloud-based, and they were accustomed to this, this legacy system with a hard drive that was visible. And now I'm just thinking, gosh, with a cloud-based planning tool like this, how many people today who have Workday are just thankful because of this global situation going on that they have this trusted cloud-based platform that they can rely on. What a difference maker it is today. So thank you, Jerry. Thanks for that. Thanks for the specifics to set Stephanie up. So Stephanie, you've got the ball, but just first of all, if you would introduce yourself briefly, and then I'm going to invite Joseph to introduce himself before you guys jump into your demos.
Absolutely. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie McNally, and I am a solution consultant with Workday, and I focus primarily on our planning solution. I've been with Workday for a little under 2 years. I've been in the planning space for over 20 years. So as a manager of FP&A, a deployment consultant, and I've been a solution consultant for about 10 years. Coming live to you from Southern California under lockdown, like a lot of us. I live here with my husband and a very, very active 8-year-old son, which isn't the best these days. You'll be finding me under quarantine riding my Peloton bike at any given time to escape. And we're looking forward to being able to attend our beloved Dodger games and going to Disneyland hopefully soon.
Yay. That bike doesn't get you very far away from the family right now, unfortunately. It's a little too stationary. That's right. Hey, Joseph, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself before we jump into Stephanie's demo.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Joseph Dank. I'm our principal practice lead over at Active Cyber, focusing on planning and analytics. I've been working with Workday Adaptive Planning for about the last 6 years. Before that, I come from a big data analytics consulting background. And I guess, I am a little bit of an introvert, so the quarantine isn't bothering me at all. I'm quite happy and relaxed. And my dog could not be happier. So anyways, I'm looking forward to showing the demo to you all in a bit.
Yeah, we'll talk to you in a few weeks, Joseph, and see if you're still doing well with that introverted quarantine. So the way it's going to work, Stephanie's going to share briefly, and then Joseph's going to do a little bit more of an in-depth demo before handing it back to Stephanie. So Stephanie, take it away.
Great. So what we put together today, a quick agenda, we're going to start off the demonstration as Teresa Serrano, our North Sales Manager. And we're going to walk through somewhat of an end user plan process. So how does an end user approach the application and walk through, in this case, a plan or a budget or a forecasting process? And then we're going to switch profiles and log in as Chelsea Wood, and who's more of the process owner who can walk us through, someone that manages the overall process and works through the more of a power user. And then I'm going to wrap up talking a little bit about the Power of One reporting, as Jerry highlighted, the concept of being able to plan, execute, analyze. So not only having the seamless integration from HCM and financials to bring in data to be able to plan, being able to drill back, whether it be to Workday objects in HCM or to transaction level detail within financials. So we're going to start off today again as Teresa Serrano, our North Sales Manager. And we'll start today talking about all the foundational data that lives within Workday. So the reports, the analytics, the processes that give you a great starting point to our plan. With Core Workday, you can always look at historical trends, timestamp reports, or even prompt for future dates. What this can do is give us a great snapshot of where we were or where we are. What this cannot provide us for, though, is true planning scenarios where we can create multiple different what-if scenarios, multiple different plans, and multiple different reports off of those versions over periods of time. Okay, so you can take all of this rich data within Workday, so your financial results, your employee data, and combine it with any other source data to be able to plan. I do want to reiterate that you do not have to have Workday HCM or financials to be able to leverage Workday Adaptive Planning. We are system agnostic and can pull data from any source. However, if you are a Workday customer, you'll be able to seamlessly leverage the data that you have within core Workday to be able to plan, report, and analyze. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Joseph to be able now to take us a little bit deeper into the planning process with our friend Teresa Serrano.
Awesome. So while you're passing the ball over to Joseph, I just want to reiterate, I think all three of our presenters so far have mentioned this, but it's still a little bit surprising perhaps to some of those who are dialed in, that you don't have to have Workday Financials in order to have this module of financial planning. So keep that in mind. I do think they work incredibly well together, but it's not a prerequisite to having Workday's financial planning module that we're demoing today. So Joseph, it looks like you've got the ball. So I think you're going to go into a deep dive here demo for us.
Absolutely. Let's jump right in. So here we are right now. We are logged in as Teresa Serrano. And just to talk a little bit about who Teresa Serrano is, she is the budget owner for the Department of Sales North. So just to point that out, you'll see that when we're logged in, we're looking at Sales North. A little bit later, we'll look at this from an administrative perspective. And that'll help us understand how powerful Adaptive is because we're all working off the same template. So here is the information filtered for her department that we're going to work through. Now, the first thing to mention here as well is that you're probably noticing some different colors happening on the screen. All these different colors are here to help you understand what is that information that you're looking at, which allows you to move through the system much easier and do your planning process in a more easier manner. So you'll notice green numbers over here. Anytime we're looking at green numbers, this is actually actuals data. Anytime you see green, that means it's actual. Anytime you see black, that means it's plan data. The cool thing is from our version selector, you'll actually notice that this actuals version is all green. Versions are really important as well. What our versions are doing for us is they're actually allowing us to create multiple versions of our plan with, of course, our one version of the truth, which is actuals, which of course is coming right over from Workday Financials in this example here. We can continue to create multiple versions. As you see, I have quite a few current year going on here. And we even have one, perhaps this was our 2019 plan, which the board approved. And we've locked that down. So that way the numbers cannot change, but we can still copy this version to, for example, create a 1+11 reforecast or even utilize this version in reports. The important thing about versioning is that you have full control over those versions. So if we hadn't, as administrators, wanted Teresa Serrano to see this version, she wouldn't have been able to see that when she logged in. And then, of course, you can create as many versions as you need. Most of the clients that I work with are reforecasting on a monthly basis at least, and Workday Adaptive Insights never reaches out and asks for more money because of the number of versions you're creating. So let's dig into the sheets a little bit more. So that was the green numbers. You're also noticing some other colors here in the sheet as I go through this. Some cells with white backgrounds, blue backgrounds, some little triangles going on here as well. So let's talk about this through a number of examples as we go through an example of working with Teresa Serrano to do her plan. Well, as Teresa here, I need to put a plan together for 6530 direct mail. But as we can see, I actually don't have any plan here put in place, and there's no green numbers to the left. So I've actually never spent anything against this account in the past. So how can we input her plan? Well, it could be as easy as just typing in a number, and then just like Excel, I'm using the tab key just to move to the right. I can use the same thing like Shift Tab to move to the left. So the movement inside of the instance is just like in Excel. So you have that nice interface that everybody's used to using. So I could go through and just kind of maybe copy this forward to the end and say, we're just going to spend $400 every month, except for the first month. But I may not really have too much insight into how much, we plan to spend in this account because I haven't done this before. Well, with that being said, I may just scroll over to the right where I see the fiscal year column here, and you'll notice that this has a blue background. So anytime we see a cell with a blue background, what we're looking at is an aggregate. In this case of fiscal year 2019, this is a time aggregate. In the case here, where we're seeing the 7251, we'll notice that it's an account aggregate. So we're seeing the aggregate of that account group, and here's the aggregate of our time group. Well, while I may not know how much we're going to spend each month, what I actually can do as Teresa here is just say, I know I have budget for $15,000 for the total year. I'm just going to key in 15,000 into this fiscal year 2019. And as I hit enter, I actually get a pop-up that asks me, how do I want to break that back? So now this makes life really nice and easy. I could obviously break that back evenly or using other kind of accounting weeks and month assumptions that we may use at our company. Or perhaps if I had historic actuals, maybe what I could do is do it proportionally using prior year's values. What this is going to do is it's going to look at last year's actuals and calculate the seasonality that we're seeing in the data and automatically use those percentages to spread this 15,000 to those different months. We could also create custom assumptions as well, perhaps business days per month, last year's revenue, our current year's revenue, last year's expense, etc. Just use 445 really quickly. And as you can see, obviously, it quickly does the math and puts those numbers in those different periods. Now, what we may want to do, as Teresa is, we may know that there's going to be a big marketing push, let's say in April. And what I want to do now is just update and change this number. Let's go ahead and just change this. Let's say we're actually going to spend 2,000. I can key that in. And as that may be higher, what I may actually want to do is add a note. So I can add a note here, and let's just say, I don't know, Alaska event, something like that. And I can type that right in. And now you see the red triangle appears in the square. As I hover over that, I see what the note was. So you might be thinking that's really great that we can put those notes there, but how in the world am I going to find this? Well, the great thing about this is that when you look at your reports, all these cell notes are going to show up as footnotes. So you're easily going to be able to see that information that you may not be able to find by looking at the P&L quickly. So you'll easily be able to see that. So that was cells with white backgrounds and no triangles. Let's look at these cells up here that have white backgrounds and purple triangles, kind of bluish. Let's look at that, and let's talk about the second column that I have here now as well. You'll notice the first column says January 2019, and it has the white background. This is our plan period for January 2019. This one right here is actually last year's actuals. So in order to help me budget a bit better, what I like to do is look at the period that I'm planning for, and right next to that, I want to see what I spent in the same month last year. This can help me for obvious reasons to maybe identify where there may be a situation I should review further. So for example here, so let's talk about this. I see that this year I'm planning 1,400, but last year I spent 4,240. So what's going on there? Well, I notice that there's a purple triangle there, which what that means is that there's actually a calculation occurring in this cell. So what we've actually done is there's another T&E model that this information is coming from. So what I can do is right click here. I'll use my Explore cell. I get this nice little pop-up here. That's going to clearly show me, expand, hey, there's an airfare calculation coming from a travel model. I can just quickly click on this, 1,400, and now I'm seeing the breakdown. There's a training at HQ, a sales meeting at HQ, and I may think to myself, oh, you know what? I completely forgot to plan for the Alaska trip that we need to go to. That's why this is so low. And this is one of my favorite concepts about how everything is connected across the models, is that directly from here, I can click on this hyperlink of travel, and I'm directly taken to the travel sheet. From this travel sheet, I can use our add row and maybe type in our Alaska trip or whatever that information is that I need to key in directly there. So this is a really important concept, right? What I'm doing is I'm going directly from our outputs here that I'm reviewing, and in a very quick, easy, and intuitive manner, I'm getting directly to the inputs, right? So I can clearly understand what are those inputs that make up these outputs that I'm seeing here. I also could have done some other cool things like looking at the snipping chart here. If I look at this and I see our pink as actuals here, I see that there's different spikes there, which correspond to that February. I hover over here, it pops over there, corresponds to that July. Everything else is pretty in line. So I quickly know that I need to look at these two periods. Okay, so that's some expense planning. Let's talk about for our personnel. So I can see our compensation expense accounts here, salaries and wages, commissions, etc. And I see the purple triangle there, so I know there's a calculation here. In the same manner, if I have a question about that number, what I can do as well is hit our Explore Cell button. I get the same pop out. And then what I could do is click on this number. Now, before I click it, I just want to go ahead and mention that there are special permissions that we can utilize, which would basically prevent me as Teresa from actually seeing this breakdown of information of who's making up that number. Of course, we realize this is sensitive, and if you want Teresa to just see the 38,817, that could absolutely be done. If you want her to be able to see the breakout, we can allow her to see that breakout. I can clearly see how much each different individual is making that up. And directly from here, in the same manner, I can just click this hyperlink and go right to our workforce planning sheet here, and I can begin to work through my part of this plan. Well, now that we're looking at this, I just want to go ahead and call out, of course, everything I'm showing you is completely configurable to your needs. In this case, on this model sheet here, which is what we call this, all these columns we've worked together with you all to define and make sure that you have the right stuff. Now, this is a really important concept here because this is where we're talking about how we can use drivers and assumptions to do our modeling. So the easiest way to point this out is, for example, when we look at residence for tax, as I say somebody is sitting in New York, that's kind of used as a driver to grab a different tax rate in order to help us calculate the costs of this specific employee. In the same manner, I may add a different row if I want to make a new hire and input their information, their salary. And if we even are thinking about giving them a specific raise that's outside of the global that we're doing, we could input any of that information here. So let's go on to one other example. Let's look at our revenue a bit. So from here, I see our purple triangle again. So I know this is coming from a different model. Let's go ahead and just look at that in the same way we've been looking at this the entire time. Right, so we have some revenue calculations here. Let's go to our product revenue sheet. This is one of my favorite types of sheets, which what we're doing here in this sheet is that we're actually looking at the number of units that we're expecting a customer to buy of a specific product. And we have a number of other assumptions, right, that are helping us calculate that. We have assumptions for ASP, for the standard costs, et cetera, helping us get to a customer and product combination gross margin. This sheet is really powerful for a couple of other reasons as well. When we think about putting data at users' fingertips to allow them to be able to answer their own questions, to aggregate and disaggregate, it really gets no simpler than this. Why I say that, for example, is that while we're here looking at customer one and product one, what I may want to see is how many units are we expecting customer one to buy across all our products? Well, to answer that question, it's just as simple as grabbing this, dropping it over units, and then my sheet is automatically going to pivot for me. And now I see the number of units by those different products for customer one. I may say, well, we've really been trying to push product 4 how much are our different customers expected to buy a product for. In the same manner, I can drag and drop that right down there again. And now I'm seeing those units for product 4. So I can continue to do this and aggregate and disaggregate really until my heart is content here. And as you can see, a very nice and intuitive manner. So the last thing that I'll show is Teresa Serrano is that what you all may do as administrators is you actually may make the process even easier for her than that, right? Where what we do is actually create a process with different due dates and give her a nice checklist that she can actually work through with descriptions and information, allow her to type notes back and forth to the administrator of that process, and really just move through this in an intuitive manner. And it's removing all the guesswork. Every time Teresa logs into this process to do her process, she's going to be taken to the right version, to the right level, and directly to the right sheets with all the information she may need to make that process happen. So with that being said, I'm going to pause for a moment and I'm going to log in as our administrator, which her name is Chelsea Wood. We'll take a quick look at what this actually may look like for an administrator. So now as an administrator, there's a big thing I want to quickly point out when it comes to our levels here. So as you saw before, we were only looking at Sales North because that's all that Teresa Serrano was responsible for. As an administrator, now I'm seeing our total organizational structure. So as we were working as Teresa and making updates in the Sales North level here, and we were saving our progress, if we looked at United States, we would automatically be able to see the aggregate of those different child levels or departments, however you want to call them. Same thing for operations, company A, and total company as well. It also gives us some really cool things that we can do as far as drilling into those numbers. If, for example, we're curious about this 11291 for airfare, I can use the same Explore Cell feature, except this time, instead of going into the sheet, what I'm going to do is actually drill down into company A. I'll drill down into operations. And I can see the breakout by those different countries. I'm seeing the functional currency that this is in and the translated value in USD. And I can continue to drill down into those figures until I'm happy with that, or I can go directly to the P&L at this level, for example. Okay, so let's look at Process Tracker from our administrator's view. Just refresh now that I've made some updates there. And I can clearly see now we have 7 days until we want our process complete. It's 33% complete. And I see that Teresa Serrano has completed 2 of her tasks, and the rest appear to be in progress here. So now I have that ability, right, to create a process that clearly tells us who is responsible for what are those due dates, when they're going to be done, so we don't have to worry about so much of that email back and forth trying to figure it out along the way. So one thing that's probably pretty pertinent for our situation is this, for example, and I really like this, and all my clients do this in one form or another, and that's just kind of quick and easy scenario analysis sheet. What I've done is I've actually created a dimension here that has a couple of different scenarios. And what we can do, just like before, is we may drag and drop that here. And then what we can use here, we'll just drag and drop that there. It'll break it out. And then what we can do is apply percent modifiers against, we kind of have a functional P&L here. So if we say worst case scenario due to the current situation is we lose 12% in revenue, 15% more here, 5% more here. We know what that does to our bottom line, right? And we have our different scenarios. And what we would do is basically utilize that to have plans of, hey, how are we going to cut costs? Or what should we do to increase revenue, et cetera? Okay, I'll show 2 more really quick things and then I'll pass back. I think I'm going a bit over, but I really like to just show, we're talking about fast, easy, powerful all the time. So what I really like to show is how easy it is to actually create a report here. So you will notice that everything is just drag and drop. I'm just dragging and dropping things as I go along here. And it's all nicely and easily separated so I can find what I'm looking for. I have some really nice, rich CRM data, so I'll use that for this example. Let me just double check my time span here. Let's just start it in 2019. And in just a few clicks, that easily, what I actually have is a report, right? You see we have the filters up here that I can maybe continue to filter down this information a bit more if I would like. And you may think, hey, that was really fast and easy, but I don't see the power here. And the reason I say this report is powerful is because we still, as I hover over numbers, you see that they kind of get a line under them. All these numbers are clickable and we'll open up Cell Explorer. But even more than that, I can click directly on this account pipeline here. And for example, say, show me that by, let's look at locations. Show me that by location. And just that easily and intuitively, I've broken this out by location. I may say, I want to see more information on California now. So let's click on that and perhaps let's take a look at our products here in California that's in our pipeline. And I can see those numbers. All along the way, the information is there for me, showing me how I've filtered and gotten to this point. And I can continue to slice and dice just like that. Last but not least, I just want to talk about how you may how you may automate a bit more of your recurring reporting. So for example here, what I'm doing is I have basically a reporting package. And in this reporting package, I have all the tabs that we need to create on a regular basis. I have all of our formatting here, etc. And what happens now is as we're at a new month, let's say March, you'll see it says February now and some of the numbers there. All I need to do is change the report date. I hit my refresh button. And then just that quickly, I now have a reporting package for March. All I need to do is maybe update my comments or other information like that. This is so powerful and has saved so much time for so many of the clients that I work with. Okay. Maybe I'll show one more thing here, and that's dashboarding. So with dashboarding, what we're doing is we're basically giving ourselves some views that are completely dynamic, if you will, right? So this is one example of dashboards. I'll show maybe one more in just a moment here as well. So with this, right, the great thing about this is just like everything else, let me just reload my page here. My apologies, 1 second there. There we go. Just like everything else, I can hit our drop down and then perhaps say, well, I just want to see these dashboards based on operation. And there we go. We're just seeing it automatically filtered just for operation. I may also say for net product revenue, let me get a closer look at that. I can pop that right out. As I hover over a space, it's going to tell me what is the number, associated with that. And then, perhaps if we bring this to a board meeting, as our board has questions, maybe what does that look like for the quarter? I can quickly just aggregate that to the quarter. They may have a question about what does it look like in Q2, etc. I can go ahead and swap that over. So really nice ease of use in understanding your information. I can as well maybe click on the United Kingdom and say, what is the product breakout in that net product revenue? I see it's product 1. Maybe what are those customers? I see it's customer 1. And I see this little nice trail of how I got to that point. Even from here, I may use our same Cell Explorer to actually go into the sheet that this data is coming from and maybe make an adjustment to that. Okay, and now let me just pause for 1 second, and then I'll show some other really cool, powerful things that some of our other clients have done as well. This is a little bit of a different example here. We're talking about value stream planning. But what we've actually done here, and maybe I'll look at it from a workforce review perspective, is what we've actually done here is that we're able to actually take those sheets as well, and we have them displayed here on our dashboard. So what does that mean? That means perhaps as you make a change or adjustment to whatever it is that you're doing, you can do that right here and immediately see different dials automatically update as you do that, right? So it becomes really powerful and helpful for your planners to give them additional context, et cetera, that they should be using while they're doing their planning. So I think with that being said, I will go ahead and pass back to Stephanie in order to show some of the drill back to Workday.
Perfect. And Stephanie, while he's passing the ball to you, just a reminder to everybody, if you have any questions you want to direct to us, I know we've already collected a few. We're going to have a couple of minutes for questions at the end, so make sure you dial those into the chat. Stephanie, if you'll bring the demo portion of our webinar to a close, and then we'll look at Jerry's roadmap.
Great, thank you, Jeff. So yes, you've been seeing tremendous amount of capabilities to be able to drill to any dimension within the application, but also being able to drill back to Workday. So here we're starting out from a Workday or from a financial report, and we can drill right back into Workday and into that transaction level detail. Okay, so now starting off within a report, we can now look within Workday, and now we can have the capability, the security permissions within Workday, and be able to drill by customer, etc. Okay, so that's from a transaction or a financial perspective. So starting out here, looking at it from more financial, but then also the same from more of a workforce. So it's hard to have a financial conversation without talking about workforce planning. So here now, a different view, we're looking at it maybe by job profile. We have a question on a worker or maybe an open requisition. At that time, we can drill right back into, in this case, the Workday object layer, okay? Again, being able to have that concept of plan, execute, analyze, all within one system. Okay, so just a very quick demo, but I wanted to really show you the visions that we have for that plan, execute, analyze. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jerry.
Pass the ball over to Tariva, and then she'll drive Jerry's roadmap. And you did mention, Stephanie, the workforce planning. I'll invite everybody to dial in. We did a webinar with the usual suspects who are presenting here. They did a fantastic webinar with demos of workforce planning a couple of months ago. You can check that out on onesourcevirtual.com, our website, in the webinar section. So Jerry, land the plane for us before we take a few questions. Talk to us about this financial planning roadmap.
You bet, Jeff. Thanks. You can advance to the next slide. Great. Yeah, so just one slide. And again, this is a very high-level review of Workday's roadmap. If you want a more detailed roadmap, you can view the Workday Planning Roadmap presentation on Workday Community. So it's all there in much more detail. But just for the sake of today, at a high level, the way Workday looks at the roadmap is across these 4 themes: agility, experience, efficiency, and insight. So I'll just touch on a few of the key ones. So from an agility perspective, while we're continually adding feature and functionality into the adaptive planning tool, one of the things across the platform that we're doing is performance and scale. You may have heard the term Elastic Hypercube technology. That is our modeling engine. It's our next generation. We developed that and launched it, I don't know, about a year and a half or so ago, and it's designed to support planning for the largest organizations with the most complex models. So we've done a lot of work there and continue to do that. From an experience perspective, I think some of the highlights are the feature Joseph just showed you with active dashboards, the ability to put inputs as a planner and see the impact of that across maybe some of your key metrics, whether it be a financial plan, a workforce plan, a sales plan. So that capability is now available across the platform. Again, from the Power of One, We're looking to continually bring Adaptive into the Workday platform from a seamless look and feel perspective, but also from, kind of wiring the system together. So one of the examples Joseph gave today was the process tracker, and the ability to allow participants in the planning process to just do their part of the plan. So think about today as a Workday user, you have your Workday inbox and getting a notification that it's you're now needed to click into your part of the plan. So you would do that right through Workday, click on your inbox notification. It would take you right to the your specific sheet or steps that you need to do as part of the planning process. Do whatever you need to do, and then click, and you're done, and you're out. So again, bringing that all together. From an efficiency perspective, you saw Stephanie today show from a security perspective, being able to go into Adaptive right from your Workday homepage. We're taking that a step further in the next few releases by bringing everything together into a single security framework. So you've got workers set up in Workday. You can pass those credentials automatically right into Adaptive, if that's the way you want to do it. So you've got one place to manage security across the entire platform. And then lastly, from an insight perspective, Workday has continued to make huge investments around artificial intelligence and machine learning. So think about, from a planning perspective, being able to do predictive planning and forecasting based on things that have happened in the past, using machine learning and AI to help you from a planning process, maybe do more predictive forecasting. And then lastly, our long-term goal over the next several releases is unified reporting and analytics. So think about a single pane of glass for all of your reporting, whether that information is coming from Workday HCM and financials, or coming from your plan, or coming from a Prism data set. Being able to surface all of that in a single reporting experience, combining whatever data you need from whatever part of the platform to provide you holistic insights to the business. So again, a high-level overview of the roadmap. And Jeff, I'll pass it back to you for Q&A.
Yeah, great stuff to look forward to, Jerry. Thanks so much. I think we've got a little bit of time for questions. I'll turn it over to Brooke for that. Any questions that we're not able to get to, we will certainly dial back directly with those of you who submitted those questions. So, Brooke.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeff. First one we have is Adaptive available in Sandbox? And if not, what are some other areas or some other ways that people can get more information about utilizing it?
Yeah, this is Jerry. I'll take that. So yes, we do have the ability on the Adaptive website to do kind of a trial version download, but also what we would love to offer as well to anybody that's interested is we have hands-on workshops. In today's environment, we're doing those in more of a virtual manner, but we would love the opportunity to set up a one-on-one workshop with your organization, maybe understand some of the specific use cases, and then we can basically walk you through, some of the key capabilities, hands on the keyboard, and then we can let you, after that workshop, play with the product after that. So we have a number of different options on that and would love to work with you, to support that.
Perfect. Thank you, Gary. So someone is asking if one of you guys can elaborate a little bit on the plans for data integration into Workday and that overall power of one.
Yeah. So this is Jerry. I'll take that, and then anybody else can jump in. But we acquired Adaptive Insights 18 months ago, and we have been on a journey since. And so what we're doing is we're pulling all the pieces that make sense into the platform. So if you think about user experience, security, reporting, those pieces we're pulling in from a data architecture perspective. We will still keep the Adaptive modeling engine because that's very purpose-built for planning. Allows you to do very complex multidimensional modeling, scenario planning, etc. Up to this point, we have built a very tight integration, to the Workday platform. So from a workforce planning perspective, the ability to pull down detailed worker information into a Workday plan. Same thing on the finance side, being able to, bring that actual data into your models. And then when you have a finalized plan, being able to push that finalized budget back into Workday financials for variance reporting. All of that capability is there today. We're continuing to make it tighter and tighter. And again, as I mentioned, the areas that we're continuing to evolve is around security, bringing the security model all together, and then that user experience. So it just looks more like Workday, versus, two different platforms. Stephanie, Joseph, I don't know if there's anything more you want to comment on that.
No, I think you summed it up perfectly, Jerry.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. It looks like we are out of our time. Out of respect for everyone's time, just want to remind you, if you do have questions that we're not able to get to, we will filter those to the appropriate person and make sure we get an answer back to you. There's also several different ways that you can reach out directly to our panelists, or if you prefer, we're happy to triage those questions if you want to send them over to marketing@onesourcevirtual.com. Either way, we thank you all very much for your time today. Please check back. We'll be continuing to offer valuable content like this, especially while we're all at home with our children and dogs and all of the things that the new world is bringing us. But please know that we're all here to help and assist in any way. Thank you for your time, and we hope to talk to you again soon. Have a great one, everyone.